All right, well, happy Wednesday, everybody. You are listening to K-Talk Radio. This is AM 630 and the show of the day. Well, of the century.
Of course.
This is the best show on the radio, in my humble opinion. You are listening to PrepperCon Radio with Scott and Shane, the prepared guy. We are excited to be here, and I am blowing up the chart here. Let me see if I can get my audio in the right zone here. All right, much better. We're excited today. We're going to be talking about protection. So we're going to go a little off the reservation. We're going to talk about non-traditional gadgets, gizmos, tools, weapons, but it's non-traditional defense tools, right? We'll call them tools. I mean, because at the end of the day, when you're talking about standard defense tools, you've got like your taser, you've got your gun, you've got your knife, you've got, those are your standard, your typical. A lot of times the conversation that you hear focuses on just those, and so we wanted to focus a little bit differently today and talk about things that you don't normally think of that you could have around the house or you could strategically place in places.
My perfect example is a zombie apocalypse type tool. Now, not that that's what we're promoting or even really preparing for, but those are the kind of tools I guess we're really kind of talking about today, right?
All right, so I guess there's a zombie apocalypse in theory that could be coming.
Well, I think it's already here, but
all right,
that's another topic.
A whole other conversation. Well, let's kind of kick it off. I love weapons from other cultures, and so I pulled in my list. I pulled in some of those. And if you want to join in the conversation, if you want to participate today, we want to have this be very interactive. So this is K-Talk. This is listener-centric. We want to get two-way communication. So if you've got ideas as we start spitting these out, give us a call. Join in the conversation. You can call in at 801-254-5855. That's 801-254-5855. Join in the conversation. Let's have some fun today. We're PrepperCon Radio talking about self-defense, home defense, non-traditional weapons.
And I guess another way to think of it is, okay, what if you're in bed and you hear a noise? What do you grab first? What's the first thing you grab? Other than we're not talking firearms today.
Yeah.
What would you grab? Or say you're in a place like here, K-Talk Radio, or you're at a restaurant, or your office. What are you going to grab what can you grab quickly in order to defend yourself?
There you go.
So there's lots of different things we can talk about. What can you do to shield yourself? What can you do to attack an attacker, defend yourself?
There you go. So to kick it off, I grew up, my dad made this coat of arms for my grandpa. And it's a Stallings family coat of arms. It's awesome. I've always thought it was the coolest thing, and I'm like, if grandpa ever passes away, that's what I want. I don't want anything else. I want that memory, that memento. Hopefully he's alive for a lot longer. He's doing really well. He's an awesome man. But there are fake weapons around it, but they're all hardwood. But there's a mace. And so I put that on my list. Because I've always thought, man, how cool would it be to actually have a real coat of arms on the wall and have a mace? Because, man, that thing...
So a mace, as in, you got a stick, like a 2-foot stick?
There's two different types of maces. Yeah, there's the 2 to 3 foot stick. It's a hardwood with a metal attachment at the end. It could be a solid ball. It could be a ball with spikes. It could be 4 blades, 3 blades. But that's your standard mace. Then you've also got your ball mace, or your chain mace, also called a flail. And that's got a chain with a ball at the end of it. And that is so dangerous.
Very mean.
Really mean, really nasty. Most of the time, when hit with one of these, the person being hit would have multiple lacerations, possible broken bones, and most of the mutilations that would happen as a result of that, they would die not on the battlefield, but afterwards due to infection. So in a grid down situation, I put that as one of my top lists because I'm just like, okay, number one, it's mean and nasty. Number two, if somebody came at me with one of those, I'd be really screwed.
And if you don't happen to have a mace, there are lots of ways to improvise a mace. And I think it's one thing we're going to talk about a lot today is how to improvise, or what you can use to improvise a self-defense tool.
Absolutely. And you can modify and create your own. It's not too hard to start making your own tools. You know, one of the, I guess, more modern maces is, you've probably seen these in the 1940s, a lot of times, billy clubs and baseball bats with nails protruding out of them. That's a modern mace.
Yep.
We have already got a caller. Let's bring the caller on the line. Hey, thank you for calling K-Talk. You're on the air. What have you got for us today?
Yeah, hey, good morning. Great show, good topic.
Thanks.
Real quick question. I've got two big dogs. They usually stay outdoors in the summer. In the winter, they stay indoors. They have their own place downstairs. And my question is this: what are the liabilities? If they did start to defend the family? I know that there's some lawsuits that often come from the perpetrators against the victims. Do you have any information on that? I do have a friend in Texas who shot an intruder, didn't kill him, and the intruder sued him, and he ended up paying for the medical bills for the person who was breaking into his house and had his arms full of electronics and as he was exiting.
You know, that's interesting you bring that up. I've actually heard of a lot of different stories along those lines. And I think that's why castle doctrine is so important. And in Utah, it's the law. If someone's threatening harm on your family and you, and they break into your home or they're into your personal space, as self-defense mechanism, you've got the law on your side. The reality is if it's a post-grid, grid down situation, the chances of them finding a lawyer that's going to be willing to try to take you to court in a court that no longer exists, you're pretty good.
Yeah, and I know we tried, and Paul, thanks for calling in. And I know that we tend to think as preppers, we tend to think not necessarily in the here and now, but more in the future as to what we might expect in the future. And that's a great question. Is my opinion on this is, of course, hopefully we have the law on our side with the castle doctrine, with standard ground laws and so forth. But my opinion is, and I've done some thinking about this, is, okay, what's more important? Are you willing to get hurt so you don't get sued? Are you willing to give your life so you don't get sued? Okay, I'm going to do my best to prepare myself to learn, to evaluate or make decisions beforehand of when I'm going to defend myself, when I'm going to run, when I'm going to, what I'm going to do. And at that point, I am not going to regret my decision to whether I'm going to fire on someone or whether I'm going to punch somebody, whatever it might be, or to defend my family, myself, or someone else.
A few weeks ago we had Ben Hansen.
Thanks.
Thank you. We had Ben Hansen in a few weeks ago, and he was talking about castle doctrine, stand your ground. He's a firearms instructor, licensed to train for your concealed carry permit here in Utah. Also works in California. We should probably bring him back and talk more about that, but also we should bring in a defense lawyer.
Oh yeah,
maybe make that a topic in the future.
I think if you happen to be listening.
Yeah, if you're in the sound of our airwaves right now, and you are a lawyer that actually understands this doctrine better than we do, which won't be too hard, because you're a lawyer, you should know it better than we do. Give us a call, contact us. info@PrepperCon is the easiest way to get a hold of us and schedule a time to get on. That's info@PrepperCon.com. And we can get you on the radio with us. We can have a good, fun, enlightening discussion.
Yeah.
So that's if someone breaks into your house, what are the laws? We'll circle back to that a little bit later. But what was your number one on your list?
Well, my number one on my list is pretty basic, and I based it on, what tool or what, other than guns, what kills most people? And can you guess what that is, Scott? Do you know what that answer is?
Spoons.
Close. It's actually hammers.
Hammers.
Hammer.
Hammers on my list as well.
Right, and there's I guess there's a bit of a false narrative out there that says, hammers kill more people than guns. That's false, but it's true in that hammers kill more people than rifles. So hammer is right near the top of my list. And these aren't in any particular order, but a hammer, or rather, my version of the hammer is something I would carry around in a post-apocalyptic world where I would need to gain access to doors. So it would be basically a hammer, pry bar type thing, which Fat Max, make a demolition hammer, which is a hammer, it's a pry bar, and it's basically a demolition tool. and it can be used for self-defense, can be used for scrounging and so forth. So that was probably what I would have. It's because it's relatively small, easy to carry, not as noticeable as carrying around a mace.
And you know what I like about that is the nice thing about that is it's not just a protection tool. It's a service tool.
Yep.
You can use that to help rescue people. You can use that to, break into things to find out who's in there, how you can help them, what you can do. It's a great rescue tool. It's also a rebuilding tool. Help you build shelters. If you got some nails, you can drive some nails with it. But absolutely, having a pry bar type tool or a hammer, I think it's a great resource to have. Just in the car in case of emergency.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're say you're carrying a bug out bag, you're carrying a bug home bag, whatever, you're on foot, you've got to be really mindful of how much weight you're carrying. So whatever I carry needs to have redundant purposes, multiple purposes,
Yep.
multiple uses. So that's why I find that particular tool very handy, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, redundancy is key. When you're looking at all of the things you need to do for preparedness, if you've already got something lying around, like a hammer, which pretty much every household should have, just remember where it is. Keep it handy, keep it where it's accessible, because once something does happen, you're going to need your tools. Not just for building and creating or fixing, but also for self-defense. They're great resources.
And one thing
Something like a monkey wrench.
Yeah, absolutely.
A great club,
Yeah, any kind of tool that would hurt if you dropped it on your toe is probably going to be a good thing to swing. But one thing I would point out about Scott's choice of a mace, you've got some length, you've got some distance, whereas a hammer's pretty short. You're going to be very close to your attacker using a hammer or a short tool like that, whereas with a mace you've got a long club, and I think that's where most of my additional items on my list are for a longer reach, so you don't have to be so close to your attacker to avoid getting injured.
I think that's a good point. So, in the spirit of long reach, you're probably not going to have this on your list. I'm going to go...
Oh, I might.
This is one I was thinking of the other night, and I thought, that could actually be pretty effective.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a potato gun.
Okay. It's still a gun. You can't have guns on the list.
It's a potato cannon.
Okay, a cannon. All right. We'll call it a cannon.
It has many names. If you've ever made one of these, they're pretty fun. They're pretty cool. They're not safe. Not for use of children. But, I've seen them shooting 100 yards. Mm-hmm. I've seen them shooting almost 1,000 yards. Mm-hmm. And basically what it is, it's PVC pipes with some type of igniter and a fuel. So like either a butane or a Aquanet hairspray is probably one of the best. Mm-hmm. I've seen potatoes, russets go a long, long way. And we, as a 15-year-old kid, I was at my friend's house, and he'd built his, and we're testing it out. And we actually put nails inside of a potato to test it out. And it's actually got a long reach. Mm-hmm. I mean, these things can shoot pretty far, and they hurt. You don't want to get shot.
You've been shot with a potato?
Not with the potato being full of nails, but I have been shot with a potato at about 80 yards.
Yeah.
We wanted to see how bad it hurt, and it hurt. So I'd imagine closer, a lot more pain. We got another caller. Let's bring him on the line. Hey, caller. Thanks for calling in. You're on the air with PrepperCon Radio on K-Talk AM 630.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Had a thought while you were talking that something that I have is a walking stick / staff.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Mine's fairly long. It's probably 1.25 inches in diameter. I'm 6'2", and it's about 6 feet long. But don't grab a broom handle. Go and invest in a good oak stick at a martial arts place or something like that, so that when you hit something the first time, you don't break its hand.
Absolutely.
Great idea.
Hey, we're running into a hard break. You want to hang on
No problem.
for...
Thanks for the time.
Hey, no problem.
Thanks for calling.
Great comment, great tool. That's actually on the list. We'll be right back with PrepperCon Radio. Catch you in about 2 minutes. All right, we are back. You're listening to K-Talk, AM 630. Feel free to call in today. We're having a fun time talking to our guests. It's 801-254-5855. You're talking to Scott and the Prepared Guy, a.k.a. the Sultan of Survival, a.k.a. Shane.
Thank you.
And he is a stud. I don't give him enough credit. He is, for all intents and purposes, he is the jack of all preppers. He knows about everything.
Cut it
and
out.
he's quite a master of a few of the topics. I could not be doing the show without him. He is my right-hand guy. We just have so much fun doing this show
We
and
do it all the time.
getting involved, and for some reason my levels are really low. So if you didn't hear that, Shane's awesome. We love Shane at PrepperCon. He makes things happen. We're talking about non-traditional or unconventional weaponry, improvised weaponry for self-defense, home defense. So far we've talked zombie apocalypse, Mad Max scenarios. Run those all through your head. We've talked about potato cannons so far, since we're not talking guns.
Right, cannon.
Talked about maces. We've talked about hammers, crowbars. What's the next one on your list, Shane?
My turn. Okay. Probably next on my list is a tomahawk.
Oh, those are sweet.
Now, the tomahawk is still, it's a tool. You could call it a hatchet, call it an axe. It's definitely more specific as a fighting weapon, obviously from our Native Americans is probably where it came in. But there are some serious tomahawk fighting weapons and really great ways to use them if you learn how to use it properly. They're very effective tools, not only for fighting and defending, but also for rescue, escape, all kinds of stuff. Look, we've got a couple of callers.
Phones are lighting up.
Stop talking.
All right, let's take on the first caller. Hey, thanks for calling into K-Talk. What have you got for us today?
Well, I've got I used to have, when I was a kid, a real good weapon, very quiet, put different ammo in it, and practice all day long if you wanted to. It's a slingshot.
That's on my list. I love that one. What was so great about the slingshot for you?
Well, if I could hit a bird when I was a kid, you had to be a pretty good shot. I mean, you're talking 20 yards away, 25 yards away. That can do some damage too, and like I say, it's very quiet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's quiet, it's lightweight, it's very portable. And have you seen, I actually did this with one of mine, have you seen the conversions you can do to actually use an arrow with your slingshot?
No.
So they have conversion kits you can get. So now your slingshot can double as a bow and arrow.
Shoot an arrow with
So,
it,
and you can
I
switch
used to,
out.
I used to undo gun shells and shotgun shells and get all the BBs
Yeah,
out
no.
of the pouch I had.
Yeah, and of course you can buy those balls. You can buy steel balls as ammo
Oh, yeah,
for your slingshot.
right. Anyway, that's what I had.
Hey, we appreciate it.
Awesome.
That's an awesome one. It's funny because as a kid, I had a slingshot. I love my slingshot. The first one I got in trouble for. Apparently wasn't supposed to have one. I'd missed that discussion. Or maybe I was sick that day. But my mom got pretty ticked at me. She's like, "What are you doing with that? That's not safe. It's dangerous." And pretty quickly I found out why, as I'm starting to smash things up in the neighborhood. They're amazing.
fun.
They're quiet. You can use a rock. I mean, you can pick up a little tiny chunk of wood.
I bought
you
one
can use
for,
a million things to shoot.
I have one. Most of my kids have their own slingshot because, as a kid, I just loved going out and shooting slingshot. Of course, BB gun was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
but slingshot, something you carry around the neighborhood and just have a lot of fun with.
We got another caller. This is awesome. Hey, you're on with PrepperCon Radio. Thanks for calling in. What have you got for us today?
I have an idea for a weapon.
Yeah, please.
It's a copper wire, and that sounds strange at first, but copper is heavier than steel.
Mhm.
So if you have a solid copper wire, it's much more effective than a baseball bat. Because it's a smaller diameter, it's easier to swing, you can grab it by either end, and it's heavier than steel.
Yeah, that would hurt.
I actually had that idea come from me from a retired military he served 2 times in Iraq. And he says it's far more effective than a baseball bat.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So, what kind of gauge copper wire are you talking about? Like just traditional Romex or something like that?
Oh, no. You would have to go to a supply house. You would have to be a commercial grade. It would be like 4/0
Okay.
PHHN.
So, like
Would be
battery cable.
It's even heavier than that.
Okay.
This would be large industrial wire, and the typical term would be called 4/0
4 Okay.
PHHN.
So it's like house service, like the stuff you run to your house.
It's
Or
actually
bigger.
even bigger.
Bigger
That
than
would-
Bigger,
that would
yeah,
be
bigger, because it's about
Even
twice the
bigger than
size of
your
what you'd be
house.
running to your house.
Okay.
So when we say running to your house, it's the line going into your electrical box from
From
the
the power
grid.
pole, yeah.
So if the grid goes down and it doesn't look like it's coming back, you can use that. It's a little
Dig it
smaller. But if you can get to a commercial grade
That's
place and
usually
pick it up,
aluminum,
that's
That's usually going to
just
be
keep a
aluminum.
piece under your seat. So that's awesome. Thank you for calling in. That's a really good tool
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that really brings up is that really most anything can be used as a weapon. It's just you have to be aware of what you can use. Like this mic, I could swing this. Oh, this is pretty heavy.
Yeah,
This
the
mic,
base on that
I
mic.
could grab this and I could swing this and defend myself. And I think that's what we're really trying to accomplish here is, okay, say you're in your office and there's an active shooter or something like that. There's most likely going to be something around that you can use to defend yourself, to attack the attacker, to shield yourself. And I think it's really, I personally really want to bring up in this conversation.
Well, then give us the next one.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to talk more about the tomahawk because that's really one of my favorite tools because you
It
can.
is
It's
awesome.
a great bushcrafting tool. Obviously, there's lots of different designs for, excuse me, for the tomahawk. Something a little more tactical, some a little more, like a throwing tomahawk. But there are some that are made specifically for defense that are also have a fairly small, say, beard on them, so they're not overly large that you can use for chopping and bushcraft and such. So I guess that's really all I wanted to say about the tomahawk is that it's fairly small, lightweight. You can use it as an axe. You can use it to defend yourself. But it does take some practice, some skill to use it as a
Absolutely.
weapon.
I think anything takes practice and skill, repetition, create muscle memory. I mean, if you're using, for example, a tomahawk, you want to make sure you understand how to swing it as a defensive weapon because you don't want it landing in your shin.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I actually used to throw tomahawks in high school. Mountain Man Rendezvous, a lot of fun.
Yep.
Throwing tomahawks at 21 paces, so you're about 21 yards. Trying to hit a tree with a card, a playing card.
And that's another thing is they are a good throwing tool.
They can be, but they're not all balanced correctly to be able to be thrown. And so you have to be aware of that. So it's good, whatever you get, practice with it, learn how to use it. It's the same thing with typical warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to understand and use your tools that you have. If you don't, it's just as effective as a paperweight. It doesn't help you.
And one thing I'm not very keen on is actually throwing my own weapon.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it in my hand as long as I can before actually letting that leave my hand and where I can't use it anymore.
Yeah, you don't want to disarm yourself.
Exactly.
Because then whoever's attacking you gets an even larger upper hand, and then you've got to improvise and find another defensive tool.
Like when you run out of a magazine, you don't throw your gun like they do in the movies. Just throw your gun at the attacker. Yeah, it's going to do a lot of good.
Other than you see the guys in the movies that they've got their handgun and it runs out as well, and so they throw it aside, pick up their fists, and they start going at the guy, and I'm like, really? You're both just going to... Okay, there's a firefight going on, you're both just going to punch it out? Everyone's going to stop shooting at you for some reason?
Well, supposedly they run out of ammo, but...
Apparently. Yeah, movies are crazy. All right, so we're talking, unconventional weapons. I'm going to save my favorite a little bit further back. Something I actually have hanging on the wall at home. But let's talk about, this is one of my other favorite ones. It's not a knife, it's not a sword, it's not a machete. It's in between kind of the knife and machete length. You can get machete-sized ones of these, but a kukri.
This is a real zombie tool.
It's a great zombie tool, but it's also an amazing tool for bushcraft, for survival. I take mine with me every time I go camping. It's in my bug-out bag. I've actually whittled with it. It's not really good at the little detail stuff, but I've actually used it to carve. I carved a spoon with it. I've actually cut down grass with it just to see how good the blade is.
Yeah, no, it's true. You can use it to kind of harvest.
You can harvest with it. It's a great,
true.
Swathing device or sheeting device, so you can actually take down rows of corn, rows of wheat.
Whatever.
Works really good, just like a sickle, right?
Plus, you just have it in your hand, and people will, run away.
Yeah, it's ominous. It's, for those who don't know what it is, it's a curved blade. It curves a little bit inward, but it's a wider blade the longer it gets until it gets to the point.
It's got more weight at near the tip.
And it's very
so it's
front
swung.
Yeah, very front heavy. Great for swinging. You can also use a mallet and pound it through wood to split logs. It's a great multifaceted type of blade. Great to carry. Most of the sheaths that you can either attach it to a belt or throw it into a shoulder harness type of connected to your backpack. So it's really easily transported. They just look awesome, and they look scary. I mean, you're right. They're not simple little.
Exactly.
Oh, he's got a knife.
Yeah,
No,
I'll say like
huge.
the machete is very kind of a thin steel.
Mhm.
It's maybe less than 1/8 of an inch, whereas this is like a 1/4 inch thick steel blade. It's got some serious weight, some serious heft behind it. It's a real tool.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's got a. So the thing about it is, it's got a sharp edge and a hard edge
On the backside.
But then the back, is not a hard edge. It's actually a soft steel in the back, and so it
Okay.
gives it some flex, which is why it cuts a little bit different. Cuts really soft, really quick, because of the way the metal is forged. So the front of the blade, or where the blade is, versus where the spine is, it's harder. They've hardened it so that the cut. And so
You
that
can sharpen it
so it
and
stays sharper.
holds the edge.
Yeah, it stays sharper, holds the edge longer. But because of the way the back is, it gives it a little bit of a wobble when it cuts through stuff.
A little bit softer, a little bit more
So it's a
resilient.
softer, more resilient
Yeah.
slice, which is awesome.
And there's a lot of really cool blades out there.
Yeah, we could do a whole show. just on
Exactly.
the blades.
That was one of, on my list as well. Is I didn't have anything particular. I just call it like a Rambo knife.
Mhm.
So you've got your kukri. Rambo is also just a big knife. You could call it Crocodile Dundee knife, a big Bowie knife like that.
That's not a knife.
That's not a knife,
It's
exactly.
a knife.
And yeah, that is one serious, very cool knife. And I even had a Rambo knife when I was a kid. That's one thing I asked my dad for that he so resisted in getting me one of these Rambo knives. I probably was 8 or 10, maybe a little bit older, but yeah, I really wanted that Rambo knife. With the compass in the handle, you could put all your supplies in the handle there too. And
I remember when my dad got his.
Mhm.
I was so proud. I was like, my dad's got a Rambo knife.
yeah.
And I proceeded to lose everything in the handle, like, within a week. He's like, where's my knife? And I'm like, oh.
And keep in mind that a Rambo knife in particular may not be a great survival tool. They're better,
Right.
like the kukri, better survival tool. But as for a defensive weapon, again, you have to know how to use it.
It'll do in a
It's big.
pinch.
You can swing it. It's intimidating. So that's one of the reasons I had it on my list. Especially maybe the newest Rambo, where he made his own, probably 18-inch, 20-inch blade. That's a very intimidating, very destructive tool
Yeah.
for defense.
Okay, let's go back to the list. I've got a few more that I want to go over, and I'm sure you've got a bunch that you can
Oh
make.
yeah.
Some of these are stuff you can make. I think bow and arrows are great.
Yep.
You can actually make your own bow, make your own recurve, or you can make a recurve or long bow out of PVC pipe. And this is fun because you can go on YouTube, learn how to do it. There's so many different people that show how to do it. It's a pretty simple process.
And if you have a pair of old cross-country skis, you could also make yourself like a takedown recurve.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Pretty cool.
that is really cool. So skis are now a weapon. They may get some spotlight here in the news sometime soon if someone uses them. So test them out cautiously.
And
But
if you skiers out there know you can get cut on your edges, as
Yeah.
you fall down on your edges. Yeah. So, but yeah,
Another tool.
a bow is definitely on my list as well. I have a recurve. My girls have their own recurves. They're takedowns, so they can pack them in a pack.
that's what I
And
got.
we go out and practice with them. They're a little bit lighter draw, I think 30 pound versus, mine's about 48 pounds. But they're learning how to shoot. They love shooting, and it's a great talent to really tone up on. And then, of course, have lots of, carbon arrows around, and you can use it for hunting, you can use it for defense. It's very, especially in the zombie apocalypse, you don't want to make noise, right? It's got to be quiet.
Gotta be quiet, because
Right.
apparently zombies can hear everything.
Attracted to noise.
They're attracted to noise. The other nice thing is with making your own bow, you can also make your own arrows.
Yep.
One of the best arrows that I found that you can make on your own is actually out of rose stems.
Yep.
Rose stems, when they dry really hard. You can straighten them during the drying process. And so then it's very easy to just cut off all the little barbs, the thorns, make it nice and smooth. And it's fantastic to be able to make your own stuff. So take some time. If you've done this, or if you've got practice, making your own tools, feel free to give us a call. Let's chat. We're still talking, weapons, things you can do today.
Our good buddy Dan, with
Oh,
my
yeah.
survival, he loves to make arrows. Yeah, he made one several years ago. I've got it probably displayed. But yeah, rosewood, that's one of the things he says makes for great arrow shafts. It does take practice. It's quite
Yeah.
a skill, especially the arrow part. The bow is going to be a little easier. But Dan has made dozens of different kinds of bows. And so, yeah, maybe we should have him on to talk about making bows and arrows.
Absolutely, we need to get him back in here again too. So, when you're thinking of self-defense, I mean, some of it is okay. It's a ranged attack, meaning they're a little farther away. So those items would work really well. You know, slingshot. When they're closer, you know, you got your mace. We've talked about knives. We've talked about walking stick, which is good because then it gives you 6 feet of defensive space. I want to talk about a close quarters one that a lot of our local listeners may know about. I got one of these from one of my friends, and I think it's just one of the coolest things. It's a really, really hard wood, and it's called a Nifo Oti, and I think I'm saying it right. If I'm not,
Okay.
call
Polynesian.
it's a Polynesian war club,
Okay.
and these things
With shark teeth in it.
No,
Okay.
this one doesn't have it.
Okay.
You can get them with shark teeth. They even have them that are actually it's a curved blade. Looks like we're running into a break. We'll be right back. Hold on to that thought. Welcome back. You're listening to PrepperCon Radio on K-Talk. That's k-talk.com. Tune in on the app if you're not in range. We can always be loud and clear on the mobile device.
Good stuff.
So today we're talking about self-defense weapons, non-traditional or improvised. A lot of fun. So we just started talking about the Nifo teams, actually, which is a teeth in them. They're really cool because you can use them as decorative items. If you've ever been to Hawaii or Samoa or Tonga, you know, pick one up. If you've been there and didn't grab one, have someone send you one because you can display it on your wall and people will ask. It's a good conversational piece because it looks really cool.
Yeah. So this thing, I guess, it's wood, right?
It's wood.
It's just,
they do have a steel tang version of it that's bigger. That, according to the stories that I've read, it actually was used to help liberate Samoa from Tonga. But these two brothers kind of developed it, and then it's become this war club. But it's such a cool tool, but it's also something you can hang on the wall. It's a decorative piece. You can talk about all the different places you've traveled all over the world. Look, we went to Tonga, and
Samoa.
Oh, hey, look, we went to Samoa, and oh, hey, look, we went to France, and in Paris we picked up some food and we ate it, and it was tasty, and we can't hang anything on the wall except for a picture of the Eiffel Tower.
but do you hang weapons on your wall?
But you can hang other things, and it looks cool. And wives, let your husbands hang some stuff on the wall occasionally. Give them that feeling of involvement. It doesn't have to be family pictures everywhere. Because you don't want to pull the family picture off the wall and fling it at an attacker or a home invader. You could.
That's what I was just going to say is, just grab a picture off the wall, and those got some pretty hard edges. I'd hate to get it with a nice quality frame.
And if the glass shatters, now you've got shrapnel going at the attacker, which is great.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of cleanup. But, put other stuff on the wall. Get creative. Have fun with it. Make this a Pinterest thing. Go pin a bunch of things that you could use as more effective weapons. Put it on the wall.
Now, one of my favorite movies is Zombieland. I don't know if you've seen that, Scott.
I've seen that, yeah.
A lot of fun. They use a lot of improvised weapons in that movie. One of my favorite that I wanted to bring up, if I'm not stepping on your toes, Scott, here. Say you're in the bathroom. What do you do to defend yourself? Obviously, you probably aren't armed. You probably don't have any tools. What do you do to defend yourself in a bathroom?
Well, monkeys and chimpanzees will actually fling their feces.
Okay.
Is this what you're talking about?
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
That's not the most effective of weapons, but it will get someone to dodge.
Grab the toilet lid tank. Toilet tank lid.
There you go.
Use
Solid
that.
Porcelain.
Yeah, that was a great weapon to fling. It's not too big, not too heavy, but it will do a lot of damage. Kind of like a frying pan. You're in the kitchen. What do? You grab the frying pan.
There you go. Or there's the butcher block. Grab anything out of the butcher knives that you can grab. Okay, so we've heard some good things. We've had the copper wire. We've had our list. We've had the walking stick, slingshots. Here's one that I think is a really great one: fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Not only is it a great club or blunt object, but if there's an attacker trying to break in, you can put these in classrooms, and they're great. It pulls all the oxygen out. If there's an attacker coming in sprayed in their face, they're not going to be able to respond. They can't breathe. Now clang them in the head with it. Great for school protection. Keep your kids safe. There's so many different things you can
Yeah,
improvise.
and it's a non-lethal, most likely. Okay, we got a call.
Let's bring this caller on. Hey, thanks for calling into K-Talk. You're on the air. What have you got for us? Can you hear us? Looks like they hung up. Oh, just when we... hey, if you can call back in, call back in. I'm so sorry about that.
We heard your voice.
We heard and we cut you off, so I apologize.
Be a little more patient next time.
Okay, so fire extinguishers. We've talked about PVC bows. What else have you got that you're thinking of?
Well, what I wanted to point out was, say, like a fire extinguisher, say us who are concealed carriers, we sit in a particular spot so we can watch the entry and watch the exit, kind of defend ourselves. Sit yourself next to the fire extinguisher. Or be aware of where it's at, so that if there's some kind of scuffle, you know exactly where it's at, you can go and use it.
Absolutely. I think that plays into situational awareness. In all things, you want to know what your surrounding has available to use, not just offensively, but defensively. Mm-hmm. Where's cover? Where can you go that's going to be out of line of sight for any attacker?
Or just have a quick escape.
Yeah, quick escape. Where can you sit that you've got a better vantage point to see what's going on around you? Those are things that you want to think about when you're going places. A lot of times people get into the zombie mode where they're walking around, staring at their phone and not looking where they're going or seeing what's going on around them. We're living in a weird time where it's more, I guess, commonplace for someone to talk through their phone than they are to talk face-to-face with somebody. So we're losing that. That's something we need to work on as a society is bring back situational awareness, bring back interpersonal communication. Set your device down. I mean, you can use that as an improvised defensive tool, huck it at somebody's head, right? But let's start being more aware. And with that, let's kind of talk also about home defense. How can you fortify your house?
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite topics. But I do have one. I've got a list as long as my arm here. But here's one I wanted to point out. It's called a monkey fist.
That's a great one.
So monkey fist, what it is essentially it's a steel ball or something round that's actually wrapped by paracord, and there's a particular knot that you can use to wrap a steel ball with, and you can buy them, already made, but it's also on a kind of, I guess you call it a leash, so it has some reach to it. You can keep it bundled up in your pocket, easily whip it out, and smack somebody with this steel ball on paracord. And so that's something that's very easily concealed. Very effective weapon, but it also points out that there are a lot of improvised weapons that you can come up with just say some duct tape, which you can braid into some cordage, or as a prepper, I'd love to have paracord. I have tons of paracord. You have your paracord bracelet. You can unravel it. You can attach something to it and sling it.
Absolutely. You can make an old-fashioned sling as well.
Yep.
You don't have to be David. And you don't have to be attacking your Goliath, but you can, I think those are fun.
Yeah.
Learn to use a sling.
That was on my list for this summer. ReadyMan has it on their site.
Really?
Yeah, they do.
So
cool.
ReadyMan.com or ReadyManStore.com.
Store, yeah.
ReadyManStore.com, you can get your own sling. There's so many fun things you can learn and do, and these are great hobbies that actually help improve your quality of life and help you through tough times in a pinch. That's what all of this is. That's why we do this show, is we want to help people be more prepared. Think of different things, think of different ways that you can do to be better protected, better secured, so that if something bad happens, you're not just immediately a victim. It puts you in a place where you can actually think responsibly. How can I get out of this? How can I avert this? How can I avoid this? And how can I protect my family? Because the most important thing is making sure our families are safe.
Absolutely. And
then helping our communities. And so the more resources we have, the more knowledge we have, the better able we're going to be to do those things, to take care of our family and our neighbors, to take care of our community, and really get involved to make a difference of an improving or substantially better way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I would love to talk about home defense or how to maybe harden our home. I've got still a long list. Maybe I just click through these real quick.
Click through a few of them,
so that give you some ideas. Belt. Pull your belt off. You can sling that thing around, attach something to it. Tactical pen.
That's a pretty good one.
Tactical flashlight.
You got to be really close with the pen and the flashlight.
Or even think of Jason Bourne. Pulls a pen off, or grabs a pen and he stabs the guy with it. So even just a regular pen is a good weapon. Wasp spray, bear spray, of course crossbow. I'm a bit of an outdoorsman, so I think, okay, my ice axe, that's a pretty great tool.
That is a scary tool.
And of course, the standard thing you see in all the movies, the baseball bat, by the side of the bed. That really is a very good tool.
If you watch the road rage stuff, there was actually recently a fight between a guy who came walking up to another driver, road rage, had his bat.
Yep.
The guy just reached into the back of his truck and pulled out this big, lead pipe or steel pipe, and they were going at it in the middle of traffic. Everyone's driving around them. I'm like, so you never know when you're going to be faced with a precarious situation. So know what you have, know what's available to defend yourself. There's so many things you can do. I love the idea of your belt, and hopefully your pants are going to stay on. But if if you're wearing things properly, they should. But your belt can be used as a whip. It can also be used as a defensive, tactic. You can actually wrap up their hands and guide them wherever you want them to go. There's so many different things you can do with these devices. We should have Stan in here. Stan from Urban Survivors. He's going to be at PrepperCon. He does knife fighting training. He's got so many black belts. I can't even remember how many. But
6, I think.
6, in different types of ways that you can defend yourself and put your attacker down. But the beautiful thing is he teaches you to think outside of the box. Get your body into muscle memory mode so that you've trained on something enough that it just instinctively happens. And that way frees your mind so you can start thinking of, okay, how do I get out of this situation? Where can I go? What do I need to do? Who else do I need to worry about? Instead of, okay, I got to block this punch. Now I got to do that. It frees you up to do other things. So it's important to know how to defend yourself and how to protect yourself. I mean, we're running out of time, but if we can get in even deeper, we'd start talking about home defense, things you can do around the house to actually secure your home. It's good to have different types of devices by all the doors, by all the windows, so that you've got something handy that you can get to protect yourself and your family.
But the key is to not let anyone into your house. And that's where I guess where I was, if we had more time, maybe we take this caller real quick, but to really beef up the security in your house, strengthen your doors and windows so people can't get in.
Absolutely. Hey caller, thanks for calling in. You're on K-Talk AM 630. What have you got for us today?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We got you now.
When is PrepperCon?
Great question. PrepperCon is actually coming up April 15th and 16th. It's a Friday, Saturday. You can get your discount tickets online at PrepperCon.com. They're $12 online for the day pass, and I want to say it's 25, I think, for the 2-day. Most of the tickets are selling in the 1-day passes, but if you can make it, come out for 2 days. It's Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and it's going to be so much fun. Did you come last year?
Yes, this is the Southtown Mall again?
Yes.
Yeah, Southtown Expo Center on State Street.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I think it's like 93, 95 South.
Something like that, yeah.
On State Street in Sandy. And the nice thing is we are the biggest. Based on numbers, we are the largest single event in the nation when it comes to preparedness and survival.
So another good method, just to talk about weapons.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you mention it, but what about brass knuckles?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one, absolutely.
That is an awesome one. I actually was going to put that on the list, and I totally spaced it, so thank you.
There's so many different ways you can defend yourself, the improvise and so forth. Very simple things like pens or brass knuckles. But you also have to check your laws because in some states, brass knuckles are not legal. Luckily, Utah is a great state for knives and defending yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling in. We are out of time. We appreciate all of our callers. You guys are what make our shows so great. It's your interaction because sometimes you have expertise that we have no clue about. And that's why K-Talk is here. It's two-way talk. It's to help engage the community, get everybody thinking, get everybody creative. So until next week, have fun, keep prepping.
We're done.
But where will you go? UtahSafehaven.com has ideal retreats for your whole group. Founded by preppers for preppers, they have properties ranging from small campsites to 50 acres or more. Pricing starts at just $19.9. And the best thing, everyone qualifies to purchase with in-house financing and no credit check. Call Utah Safe Haven today at 435-315-8346 or online at UtahSafehaven.com and discover how quickly you can find your safe haven. That's